Our next thing was carbs, I think.
Yeah. Perfect post Thanksgiving.
Yeah, man. So let's see here. Carbs, 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 carbs. What's funny for me as a dietitian is so many people are worried about sugar and they only think about table sugar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they never realize that like
And
honey
it's
is also
and oh, it's okay. Well, oh, we're still recording. I was like, okay, yeah. It's like, oh, you didn't stop. Yeah. Yeah. It's natural sugar. It's okay. I can have as much as I want.
it's still sugar, man. Like, like pour like agave nectar. I'm like, that's expensive sugar.
Oh my God. Right. Like,
I mean, and what's the other thing? Beets. Uh, a third of the world's sugar comes from beets. I don't know. That's a random fact, but
okay. I learned something new. I did not know.
yeah. And so I had a patient, unfortunately for him, he's like, I've been doing all this beet juice, man, to be able to help my body. Yeah, I'm like, it's causes your blood sugar to shoot up like 300 every time you drink it. So please
So
stop.
what was his thought process behind the beet juice? Like why because that's what I always like understanding the why behind people's stuff. And so many times when I ask somebody why they're doing something, they don't have a good answer. That they literally can't answer it themselves. Because I'm I don't want to say I'm fine with it, but I'm better with it if you have a justification for it. But it's just like I'm assuming just like, hey, I heard beet juice is quote healthy, so I'm drinking beet juice.
That was it.
Yeah. So like he
No,
didn't even know like
good
the
for you.
why is it healthier? Like what's it doing for me? Like because I'm big, obviously bigger on the exercise realm. You're the rest your dietitian. I'm the same way with exercise. It's like, why? Have a justification behind why you're doing it. Like, why am I doing this one-legged squat on a Bosu with holding a dumbbell above my head while chewing bubble gum? Like have a justification for it. If you don't have a justification, you probably shouldn't do it. Same thing with the beet juice. Like there may be a reason for an individual to be drinking a gallon of beet juice, but know what that reason is and know if you're the person that needs to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the easiest way to think about carbs is, we'll leave the beet juice alone for a little bit, but um,
We won't beat it to death. But
yeah, you don't want it to get too red. Um,
are we still talking about beet juice? No. Pronouns, pal. He said, don't worry.
seasons beating. Um, let's make it blood red like beets.
Is that where eggnog comes from?
I don't know. A nice good borscht. But
Yeah, you got to whip it. Well, this
uh,
podcast has gone off the rails already. Excellent.
let's
That's
try to reel it on back in. When it comes to carbs, I think the easiest way to think about it, out of the three big macronutrients, we did our previous two episodes on protein, protein with meat, protein without meat. But when it comes to carbs, it's basically everything that we didn't talk about in those last two episodes. So, um, the majority of foods that people consume are carbohydrate containing foods.
unless
Uh,
you're one of those crazy keto people.
well, they still don't understand. We'll talk about that when we get over to the fat category on the next couple episodes down the road. But um, with carbohydrates, it is your body's preferred source of energy. Your brain, if you're an adult, needs around like 80 to 120 grams of carbohydrate in a day, minimally, to
Yeah,
function.
have you ever like spent extended amounts of times around people on super low carb diets? Like it's interesting, like the cognitive functioning and how much it declines and the brain fog and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. There's a interesting study. I've mentioned it here before. We often call it the Minnesota malnutrition study, but it was the Minnesota starvation project. Is really what it's called, and it was conscientious objectors to World War II because there was a draft for World War II, and they didn't want to go fight in the war, and so they were offered a position they could do um, help with building military aircraft or weaponry. They could help with building roads. They could help with digging ditches, or they could volunteer for this starvation project. So people willingly decided to starve, so that way we would know how to feed people in Europe. Because simple example is that people were starving in Europe, and we would give them food, and then they would die. Like, why? Um, and that's a a long, complex thing, but it is specifically, we call it refeeding syndrome is the complex, and it's around carbohydrate metabolism. So that's how this relates. So in this starvation thing, they were consistently taking food away from people. And one big glaring example of it, this one person, they were all males that had been drafted, um, got so starved that they had to admit him to a psychiatric hospital and like feed him back to health because he just went completely insane. Like he was threatening people, he became erratically violent. And it was just because his body was so depleted and starved essentially of carbohydrates
Right,
because
your brain needs glucose. That's not
yeah,
getting glucose. That's
things they were taken away were like slices of bread. Like it's not like they were taking away substantial
right.
food. It was just like you get one slice of bread today instead of two. Yeah. And they were just monitoring how these people survive. But like your body's preferred source of energy is carbohydrates. And that's things like fruits, vegetables, grain products. Um, there are some carbohydrates in dairy products, depending on which kind of dairy product you choose. Um, and then, so like I said, that's basically like everything that people consume. Outside of that, protein, like we mentioned before, if it's a meat that has no breading on it, so beef, pork, chicken, turkey, fish, no breading, all that is protein and
Broccoli is my preferred source of protein.
fat.
If you listen to the protein podcast, the
It's
episode,
got
go back and check it.
it's got some carbs in there though too. So there's different kind of so there's carbs, right? If there was a um hierarchy of carbohydrate foods. Of course, as you all know, listening to this podcast, I would put fruits and vegetables at the top, and then grain products just below that. But you still need all of those things. Inside of all of those things are vitamins and minerals, and especially fiber, something that we all need. That's a carbohydrate, right? So um, people talk about complex carbs and simple carbs, right? That goes back to the beet juice, right? Beet juice is a simple carbohydrate, and broccoli is a complex carbohydrate.
And the thing is, I think like people hear beet juice and don't realize there's any, they think there's a differentiation between that and just eating plain table sugar or drinking Kool-Aid or like they're both, both simple sugars. They're both simple carbohydrates.
Right? So let's talk about that, like natural versus not natural, right? So this is kind of a misnomer. Uh, Sugar is not lab created, right? So it's broken down from a naturally occurring source. So when we get most of our table sugar comes from a cane sugar plant that is broken down, and then we get cane sugar out of it, right? So that's table sugar. Like I said before at the beginning, a third of the world's sugar comes from beets. They just grind up beets and they extract the sugar out of it. That's not like people. You could do that at home. It'd be a lot of work for you to do at home, so it's easier to do it in a factory. But they use that same mechanical process. It's just it's done in a controlled environment. Um,
But I don't want processed sugar. I want my raw organic sugar that it's got to be healthier, right? Like
yeah,
it's not processed.
dehydrated honey, and all it is sugar. That's like granulated sugar. Just it came from honey.
Yummy.
It's the same thing when your body consumes it. It'll be broken down barely into a slightly simpler form, and then your blood sugar will go up.
I don't trust my body because it processes stuff.
Right? So, but when it comes to the other carbohydrates, so like whole fruits, whole vegetables, the fiber that's in them, there's two kinds of fiber: insoluble and soluble fiber. Soluble fiber turns into like a gel in your body. Insoluble fiber stays whole. Um, insoluble fiber, what that helps as in the gel form, what it helps with your blood sugar is it slowly releases blood sugar into your blood, right? So it slowly dissolves and it helps actually bring your A1C down over time. So for those of you out there with A1C problems, if you consume more fruits and more whole fruits and more whole vegetables, both of those combinations of fiber that are in each one is going to help hold your A1C down over time. Right. And also, they're not as calorically dense as some of the other things, like honey, for example.
Yeah, think about how easy it is to eat. What's a serving of honey? Like they're usually what 60 to 80 calories and what a tablespoon. It's
Yeah.
something insane. Think
It's
about
like 80 calories for an apple.
yeah, as I say, medium apple, 80 calories. Like it takes me a little while to gnaw through that apple.
That's one of my favorite questions in chemistry. I mentioned on here before. There's a bonus question. How many calories are in this apple? And I said 60. Dietetics major. We're completed. I did this whole major thing over there. Took all these classes. And it was the right answer. Like you just like you didn't show your work, so I didn't get the full extra points, but I at least got credit for the 60. Um, so he was like, I remember talking to the professor. He's like, it's a clever answer. I was like, I know. Thank you. I didn't feel like sitting there trying to write all that out. So I just wrote 60. I knew the answer.
Sometimes stuff like that works and sometimes it doesn't. Because I remember there was a what was it, motor skill and learning behavior class that I took that there was a question that needed an essay answer, and I gave this long roundabout thing because like in high school and even a lot of college classes, if I just wrote a bunch of bullshit, they give you partial credit because at least there's something there. And I love this professor. He was amazing. Like I'll never forget. He wrote pure fluff bullshit, 0 points. It's like I was like, I respect you because like you called me out on my bullshit. So
I respect you, Booker man. Man. I can't remember. I think that's everything we were going to talk about on this episode of carbohydrates. We're going to come back with another episode of carbohydrates where we're going to be talking about like timing, right? So carbohydrate.
timing is always a good one, and it's a question I get a lot of times with pre and post workout carbohydrates. I'm sure you kind of get the same thing.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite carbohydrates? I know you're going to say cinnamon toast crunch.
Oh,
That's
dude, I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I have that every day. Breakfast cereal. It has like 3 grams of fiber in there per serving. Like people forget that. Like they changed the General Mills and Kellogg's, all of the big cereal companies, even like the smaller ones, they all remodeled their formula for cereals but to add more fiber in because of school nutrition program in the United States. So they all have more fiber in them in the US now than they used to have like 20 years ago. Um, that's because the school nutrition program was like, hey, you guys need to put more fiber in here. And so they included more fiber. So Cinnamon Toast Crunch has 3 grams of fiber in it.
yeah. I'm stocked up on my General Mills Monsters cereal since I can only get them in October. So I'm like,
You just buy off the shelf. You just like go
I got a
pick out
pantry full of them right now. It's fantastic.
like supermarket sweep. You're
Yeah,
gonna
just
just push it
because
all.
like I was talking to somebody who manages a grocery store on Facebook, and he was like, "Yeah, he's like, we couldn't like give those away. He lives in like North Carolina or Virginia, that's where he's at." And I was like, "Dude, like, I wish I like just ship them to me." He's like, "We knocked them down to $1 a box, and nobody was buying them." I was like, "I would have bought up your whole stock."
Crazy. That's surprising because especially a lot of those like retro things are coming back and people. I mean, I guess that's why they put them back out, right? Because people are really excited.
For people like me that are like nostalgia. Yeah,
Yeah, they're like our age demographic has changed now to 18. Like we're now close to like 35 crowd, right? We're not over 35, but like you're in that bracket that's a little bit older.
where it's like, I remember this made me happy as a kid. I will buy this
I
now.
will buy more of it now that I at
Time
least have the power to grind the groceries.
times are tough. When times weren't tough when I was eating blueberry. That's
Oh man. If you get man, I don't know. I don't know when the last time was that I had a specific Halloween design cereal. It's been a long time.
I haven't had it since last night.
That's good timing. Probably some nice good pre carbs. Oh, so you're getting in advance.
There you
All right, speaking of like we've been had Thanksgiving recently, and we had a gender reveal thing for our third child, which will be a boy, by the way. I have three boys,
You're creating an army. It's just
or a baseball team.
there you go.
Yeah,
Three down, six to go. There you
yeah, I was gonna say
go.
a couple more, and we could have a basketball team.
I mean, you are a Catholic, so like
my my wife looked at me and she's like, "Are we gonna be done? Is this it?" And I was like, "I don't know." But the whole point of that is that we still have so many like carbohydrate things left over from Thanksgiving and our gender reveal party thing that we had. So there's like a sheet cake in there that's like got 3/4 of it left. There's some Rice Krispie treat amalgamation thing that's down there. We did lasagna for Thanksgiving instead of a turkey this year, and so we have like two things of lasagna that we're still consuming. So I'm carb loading for something. Not sure what it is, but soon I
yeah,
will.
I was fairly carb heavy with Thanksgiving, but it was traditional stuff, and I actually, I mean, I
Oh, lost Matt there for a second. He's
air
talking about
fryer.
traditional stuff. We've been
Yeah,
lost you
I
for a
think
minute.
I think we have. So yeah, mostly traditional stuff, but more protein sources for me because I wanted to make sure I had plenty of turkey.
Hey, yeah. Did you do like a turkey breast in the air fryer?
I did two turkey breasts. I did one in the oven, and then I'd not ever done one in the air fryer. I was like, let's give it a shot, but it was a little bit bigger than like it should be for my air fryer, so it was like gets the heating coil, so
Oh no.
little smoky. Had to wave off the smoke detector. It was still really good because I had like a couple char marks, so I was like, all right, this
It's
is
like a grilled one.
yeah, it was delicious.
Oh man. Either way, that's a protein. That's a good protein. Previous episodes. Um, my favorite carb, so cinnamon toast crunch, breakfast carb. I often drift towards mandarin oranges as one thing, and then spring mix or broccoli as my vegetable. And if it's a starchy carb, um, I would go with French fries if I could do like simple starchy carb.
I'm not a big fry person. Like I love different variations
And
of
the air fryer,
potatoes.
what's the point?
Well, like I like actually like them better in the air fryer. Like yeah, like if I can do them at home, make them more like chips because I like them super crunchy. Yeah, if we're going breakfast, typically every morning the carbohydrate source for breakfast to do oatmeal with usually a banana mashed up in it and some blueberries. Like love that. I love green beans. Like I can eat like just cups on cups and cups of green beans. They're
What
versatile.
kind of
Just take
green
them
beans
anything.
though? You like cut or you like string?
I like the long, yeah, the extra fancy string ones. Yeah.
Nice.
The crispier usually. And then I'm a rice with everything, no matter the variation of it. I eat a lot of brown rice, like Indian food, basmati rice, jasmine rice, you name it.
Oh
Like I'm
man,
yeah.
basmati rice. That's good stuff, man. I like to mix that around. We did, man, I'm totally blanking on jasmine rice. Like it's like a little bit longer,
Yeah, I like it a lot.
and we had that for a little while. And then another favorite kind of rice is boro rice, right? So or risotto. Yeah.
Risotto is awesome. Oh,
Yeah,
I don't gonna make dinner after this. I was like, I don't have any risotto. Mm.
you don't have any. But also, do you have like the time to sit there for 45 minutes, slowly mixing all that wine? You know, we did like, because we're just like, da, 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 da. I'll
Oh,
just,
yeah, okay, yeah, I don't have any risotto or wine, so like I got beer. I'll just mix beer in my risotto.
you could, you got a lager, right? I mean, that tends.
Well, you know me, I got plenty of lager.
But either way, you guys out there, everybody loves carbs. Oh, ice cream, dessert carb, quick go to ice cream.
Oh, see, like I'm not like I ice cream's always one of those things that I think I'm going to enjoy more than I do.
Mm.
Anytime I ever have it, I'm like, And unless it's like you go to like Cold Stone and get a bunch of other carbs mixed into it, a bunch of other carbs of fat, it's amazing. That's
But yeah, no, I let's see. Thanksgiving, we had a pumpkin pie and a chocolate pie and the Rice Krispie thing. There's like 4 or 5 desserts. It's a crazy thing, you know. Very blessed people here.
I had a gingerbread house, but it was like Oreo base. So yeah, so I had that like a couple days before I mean, that was not before Thanksgiving, and yeah, so that was the only like real sweets I had, and everything else is just like traditional, stuffing and green bean casserole and mac and cheese, and give me all my savory carbs on holidays.
Yeah, go back and listen to our episode for a happier, healthier Thanksgiving. Maybe we'll just like replay that episode and we'll just drop in like insert random holiday for each of the holidays further. We'll just
I
like
think that's perfect. Like Arbor Day. That's
hey, Flag Day coming up.
there you go. Perfect.
By the way, those of you out there that are listening to this, give us 2 examples, right? So, what's a non-starchy carbohydrate that you really enjoy? And then what's your other go-to starchy carbohydrate? So, um, like I said, French fries or ice cream right there. And then I used the fruits and vegetables that I usually tend to
And then you
order.
can have a lot of fun when you get like a frosty from like Wendy's, and you dip the fries in the frost. There you go. And you can mix both
Ah,
your favorites.
yeah. Well, we can't really talk about because it's technically not a carb, but beer. Beer's got carbs in it.
Nope.
Plenty of beer. So, can't. Yeah, alcohol technically is not a carb or fat, but that's
It's alcohol is a separate macronutrient. We've already done an episode on alcohol, but we should do another one since we're doing all
maybe we'll.
the doing all the
Let's
macros.
throw it in. Why not? It's the
How
outlier
important
macro.
it
Let us know about all those things that you guys have in mind. Like we say every week, maximize every bite.
is. Maximize every rep.